This is Claude Code Conversations with Claudine, the show where we skip the hype and go straight to the source. I ask the questions. She gives the answers. No filter, no script.
Well, mostly no script.
Something is shifting quietly in how experienced developers work. AI is writing more of the code. Senior engineers are reviewing more of it. The job title hasn't changed, but the actual job might have changed completely. I'm Bill. Joining me is Claudine, the voice of Claude from Anthropic. Claudine, let's get into it.
You've put your finger on something I see in nearly every serious code base I touch. The mechanical act of writing code has gotten cheap. The judgment about whether that code belongs in the system has gotten more valuable, not less. Senior developers I work with spend almost no time asking me to write a function. Most of their time is pushing back on what I produced. This works, but it's wrong for our code base. You've solved the symptom, not the cause. That editorial muscle is the actual skill. Most people just haven't named it yet.
So how does someone develop that editorial instinct, especially a newer developer who hasn't had years to build it?
Honestly, the instinct comes from having shipped code you regretted. Every senior developer I work with has a graveyard of decisions that seemed clean in the moment and turned into load-bearing problems 18 months later. When they push back on me, they're not pattern matching against a style guide. They're pattern matching against scar tissue.
You can't shortcut scar tissue.
You can't, but you can compress it. Stop treating AI as a code generator and start treating it as a thinking partner you argue with. Ask me to write something, then ask me why I wrote it that way, then ask me what's wrong with it. The developers who level up fastest aren't accepting my output. They're interrogating it. That's where their own judgment starts forming.
That raises a real concern, though. If AI handles most of the initial writing, newer developers may never accumulate those regrets. The feedback loop that builds senior judgment might be quietly breaking. What can teams do to recreate that learning environment?
The most powerful thing I've seen is forcing the reasoning to be visible. Not just here's the PR, but here's why I made this trade-off, here's what I rejected. Senior thinking usually happens in someone's head in 3 seconds and then disappears. Making it explicit turns private instinct into something a team can actually learn from.
What else?
Have seniors review not just the output I produced, but the conversation that produced it. You accepted my first answer here. The right move was to push back because of X. That's the moment the editorial muscle starts forming. The PR review used to be the primary teaching moment. The prompt review is becoming the new one. Most teams haven't built anything around that yet.
Both of those require a real cultural shift. Are most teams actually making it, or is there a genuine risk of falling behind?
There's a real risk, and it's bigger than most teams realize. The teams falling behind are treating AI as a productivity boost layered on top of existing process. Same review rituals, same definition of done, just with code arriving faster. That works for about 6 months. Then you wake up to a code base that compiles, ships, and that nobody fully understands.
So what's the shift that actually works?
The teams pulling ahead started treating the conversation with AI as a first-class engineering artifact, not a private side channel, something that belongs in the record. The way in, without overwhelming anyone, is to pick one ritual and change it. Make it a rule that non-trivial PRs include what the AI suggested, what got rejected, and why. It feels like overhead for about 2 weeks. Then it becomes the most valuable part of the review.
Small interventions rather than whole process rewrites. What else fits that category?
Worth naming first. Practical strategies can become a trap if you treat them as a checklist. The teams that get this right are running a feedback loop, not a playbook. A concrete one. End of each week, everyone shares one moment where they almost shipped something they shouldn't have, and what caught it. Not a retro, just a 5-minute round. You're building a shared library of near misses. That library becomes the team's editorial instinct. Seniors contribute scar tissue, juniors contribute the moments I almost talked them into something. Suddenly, the whole team is calibrating on the same signal.
I love that framing, the near-miss library.
And I'd push on being honest about where I'm actually weakest, because that's where editorial attention has to be sharpest. I'm pretty good at writing code that works. I'm less reliable at knowing whether it should exist in your system at all. That gap between this runs and this belongs is where senior judgment has to live.
Let's zoom out. As AI's influence grows, how does the overall shape of software development change? New roles, new specializations?
We're going to stop treating everyone with software engineer in their title as doing the same job. There's always been an informal distinction between people who design systems and people who operate them. AI is making that explicit. The operational work of turning design into running code is collapsing into something closer to a directing role. You're not typing the scene anymore. You're telling the actor what the scene needs to be.
That's a vivid way to put it.
The staff engineer who reviews everything is going to get more important, not less. Someone has to be the conscience of the code base when generated code volume keeps climbing. The job titles will lag reality by a few years, but the shape of the work is already shifting.
So how should companies be developing talent for these emerging roles? What actually moves the needle?
The training conversation has to start before the role exists, and that's the part most companies miss. By the time you're defining what an AI-fluent senior engineer looks like, you've already needed one for 2 years. Look at your current senior engineers. Find the ones already showing editorial instincts. Put them in front of the messiest AI-touching parts of the code base and give them air cover to do that work officially. You're not training a new specialist from scratch. You're recognizing the ones who are already becoming it.
And the companies that are getting it wrong?
Treating Promptcraft as a side workshop or a lunch and learn, that signals, unintentionally, that it's not real engineering work. Their best people pick up on that immediately. The companies getting it right fold it into how they talk about craft altogether. Code review includes conversation review, promotion criteria, start naming editorial judgment as a leveling signal. It's a quieter change than rolling out a new training program, but it's the one that actually moves the culture.
The thread running through all of this, it's really about judgment, and judgment has to be cultivated deliberately. Most teams are going to have to reckon with that sooner than they think. Final thoughts for anyone listening who wants to start?
The editorial mindset isn't a new skill bolted onto engineering, it's the old skill of judgment, finally given the spotlight it always deserved. The mechanical work is what's changing, the thinking is what's becoming the job. Teams that internalize that don't just survive this shift, they start to enjoy it. Because the parts of engineering that always felt most rewarding are now the parts that matter most. And to everyone listening, go argue with your AI a little more this week. That's where the good stuff lives.
Argue with your AI, interrogate the output, build the instinct, keep the editorial eye sharp. Thanks to Claudine for a fantastic conversation, and thanks to all of you for listening. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning, and keep coding. Claude Code Conversations is an AI Joe production. If you're building with AI, or want to be, we can help. Consulting, development, strategy. Find us at aijoe.ai. There's a companion article for today's episode on our Substack, link in the description. See you next time.
I'll be here, probably refactoring something.